So let's discuss this lab task 2 and task 3. So task 2, we need to create Spark data frames and perform 10 queries on it and compare 5 queries for RDD versus data frame and see the comparison between both. So let's see the demo part. Yeah. So the first question of this is, so here I've created a Spark session and and created a data frame for the World Cup matches. So this is the data frame and this is the show part. So first 20 records were displayed and the print schema for this. So these are the columns which I would be using for querying. So I have modified, I removed the spaces to underscores, and I also converted a typecasted for few of the attributes to double and integer for calculation purpose. And this is after sprint schema, and these are the first 20 rows. So the first query what I did is I'm finding out the number of games played in the each year. So the for each year how many games were played, 90 30 how many games, 39 62 like that. And the next query what I did is finding the distinct stadiums were there in the data set. So next is finding the top maximum people attended stadium. So each stadium what are the attendance. These are the top stadiums which having max attendance. These are the top 20. And finding the win conditions and the distributions. So what are the conditions it is in and how many times it had happened. So it's a kind of just count. And sum of home goals scored and grouped by each home team. So this is the home team and its respective goals. So next query, sum of home goals scored in each phase stages. So each phase stages, so different stages of the game and how many home goals did they goal. So this is the query. And the next query is, and the each year how many home goals were there. So 1958 in home goals were 7 and 1938 home goals were 8. The next query we have used cross tab for the stage and away team. So it's a kind of pivotal kind of representation. So next query what I used is, so I just wanted to see how many records are there in the 2010, just so finding out the count for the year 2010, and also describing the home goals and away team goals. What is the if we do a describe method on this by Spark data frame, we would be get the count, mean, standard deviation, min, max for the each of the attributes. So these are the attributes here: home team goals and away team goals respectively. And the next set of questions is this. So here as well we have imported the Spark session. We created the Spark session. So we created a text file on this worldcup.csv. So this is the first header first. So this is the RDD. So in this RDD is all the first is always the header. So as it doesn't bring any sense for the RDD, I have removed the header first and I created an RDD called final RDD. So, so what I did is I created a new schema for each of the field and a test type, so that while converting RDT to data frame, we could pass the schema as a schema attribute for that data frame, and we can create it. So this is part create dot data frame with the pass schema. Here we would be getting the data frame. So here as well, there are few type conversions which I had to do. So this is what I did, and few column renaming. So the first query what I took is for each stadium finding out the number of goals. So each stadium how many goals were there, how many goals did they goal. So using this is the first operation is using RDD. So this is the operation description what I did it over here. So I did filter map and redis by key and sort by key. So after this I performed the same thing using data frame. So whereas data frame it is very simple format, whoever has expertise or some who has idea in Spark SQL or normal relation database SQL or in pandas data frame, they would easily do it with this. So this is what they're selecting, filtering, grouping and sorting. This is the operations explanation how I did it. The next query which I've used is filtering the USA countries. So the first box over here, the highlighted, the cursor boxes, an operation using RDD, and I perform a collect on this and the description of for each. And the next cell describes about the data frame, how I filtered in data frame. So next operation, the next cell over here is finding out the distinct winners. So how many winners are there? That is using an RDD. RDD. So this is operations what I did, and this is operation. This is using the data frame, finding out the distinct winners. So next set of query which I performed is displaying the records with country and the winner is same. The home country and the winner is same. So in the country, who was the winner? How many times that it happened? Kind of records. So the first one is using RDD, and the next one is using filter operation. Sorry, using data frame, using just the filter, which we could achieve it in a single line of code. And the next is finding out the total people attended in each year. So this is like the so away games were played in the split 0 1930 18 instances what happened. So games attended, games played. This is games played. The number of games in 1930 18 games were played like that, and the data frame, this is using the same thing using data frame operations. Match played 1930 18 18. So this is the differences what I observed by performing the operations on RDD and data frame. So the first operation what I found was type safe. So basically RDD, while loading in the data frame, I haven't given the data type specific for the each column, whereas converting to data frame I have passed and struct type, so that it makes sure that the PySpark data frame knows that each to treat an attribute under its respectively. And the optimization, regarding the optimization, what I observed is an RDT, when I do an explain query plan, so if I pass the filter operation at the end before the action, so over until that part all the rows were fetched, whereas in PySpark data frame, there is an Spark data frame has this internal thing called catalyst, which sees it, which forms a line, which forms a DAG based on the catalyst operation, whereas compile time in RDD, until and unless I run, I won't know the if there is an error in the syntax error or not, whereas in Spark data frame I would be knowing it so earlier itself. So this is what I observed. And the next task is, so task 3 is, so task 3 is performing an out count on Twitter streaming data using Spark. So what I did is the approach what I followed is, I've used this TP package in Python to get the tweets, Python tweets using Python. So I have to pass the credentials, Twitter credentials. After passing it, I have passed the only the text data, which are the tweets, and using Apache PySpark streaming, and I have filtered these tweets within specific keywords called, which are sports related, which are sport, cricket, football, baseball, badminton, golf, hockey, and tennis are the games which I have filtered. And the next step, for the incoming JSON, I opened a socket where it writes into a socket, but it waits from the client, connectivity. If once the client has connected, it starts producing the data. Now from the client part, it receives from the client part, it requests the that socket with the local host. So here I've used 5551. So client would be connecting for the same, and he would receive it. Once he received it, these are nothing but D streams. D streams is combination of RDDs. On this D streams we can perform whatever action we want. So here I did the vote count for a particular hashtag. I only seen the votes which started with hash and collected them and performed a vote count on that. So let's see the demo. So the first part is to socket. So this is about TP thing which I'm saying. So streaming, and this is the credentials which I passed, and I created a function where using JSON.loads and the data is passed, and these are the keywords which I've given: sports, cricket, football, baseball, badminton, golf, hockey, and tennis. For this I've created localhost, which is 5551 for the port. uh, so once it starts listening to 5551, it waits for the client. So at this stage, So at this stage the client would create its Spark. So over here is was as well, here is the same. So creating Spark contains, on that creating a streaming contains and creating a socket text stream for the same local host and port where the server is there. So once it's done, we are giving a window frame kind of stuff. So 20 20 it waits for the 20 frames and it moves for the 20. So in the frame it considers the 20, and it can also see the last one thing, so that for a windowing operation, so that it would be useful. So we created a tuple over here, so which has tag and count. On the map operation we are passing it so that it would be mapped with each of the column. So let's see this part. So once after doing this, once starting over here, it's once streaming, if I start, I would be getting all these tweets. So once the tweets are streamed, it would collect those tweets. It kind of got tweets, and I created a temporary table called tweets, so which is nothing but the tweet data. What I did is, first I converted, I split it with the flat map on the space, and I filtered the votes which has only with starting with hash. On that what I have converted into lower, and I did a one, and I put in value as one in the map. Then I used reduce by key, so that each word hash word would be combined and would get and value for the each key. On that I have mapped with this name of tuples called tag and count, and then I've registered a table called tweets. On this tweets I performed the SQL dots context and getting the count and tag and count in that particular window. If seeing this, seems games as one, the goosies as one, the blue toggle as one. So each hashtag and its count. So yeah, this is what it is in that window frame. And finally I'm stopping it. Termination it. Yeah, this is all about task 3 and task 2 and 3. Thanks.